Hey there, my name is Adele and I'm the founder of Naked.Divorce. So one of the questions that I actually got sent through was as follows. I was wronged by my ex and I'm not really sure how I can trust again. I feel that all my faith in men has been completely destroyed. So that's a really good question. And I think this question applies whether you're male or female, because I think a lot of people can identify with that feeling that something bad happened to them and they're not really sure how they can move forward. Now, when we feel like something is not our fault and it's actually somebody else did something to us, it's a tricky place to be in. Because just because something isn't our fault doesn't mean that it isn't our responsibility to kind of heal and make it right within ourselves. You know, blame is this topic that is really, really tricky for people. Because for most human beings, blame is this hot potato. Nobody wants to hold it. Nobody wants to touch it. We just want to pass that nasty feeling on to somebody else. To avoid blame, we might actually stand in a victim position where we're pushing that feeling outside of ourselves. And that blame is outside, it's over there with you, you are to blame for the situation, and we're throwing that blame out there. When we are blaming ourselves for something that has happened, we turn that blame internally, and that anger and that upset goes internal. And that internal movement of blame and anger is what we call shame. That's when we actually are almost turned to like negatively towards ourselves in a kind of self-loathing sort of world. The reality is, whether your partner was to blame or you were to blame, it's irrelevant. Ultimately, in a relationship, there are always two parties. You are in every relationship you've ever been in. Meaning, you can't be somebody that had absolutely nothing to do with whatever happened in your relationship. And even if the person wronged you and they did something that you feel, you know, it led to you feeling untrusting and like you can never love again, you having that mindset is still your choice. That is your responsibility to fix that and amend that. And that's what I'm trying to say, is blame actually has nothing to do with it. It's about responsibility. Ultimately, we all have something to do with the relationships that we get into. We all have something to do with the fact that maybe they don't work out. And in a responsibility pie chart, it might be that your ex, you know, they did more things that led to it happening, and maybe you did less things that led to it happening. But without actually going through the journey of taking responsibility for your piece of the pie chart, healing will not happen. Why do I say that? Because healing is actually a function of learning. And if you look at a trajectory of learning, leading to healing, the preceding steps are you begin with that feeling of being a victim, because anytime something terrible like a trauma happens, we feel victimized to begin with. You then need to kind of start mobilizing yourself, moving to a place of empowerment, and then you begin to survive the trauma that has happened. But you can oscillate between victim and survivor for quite a while. Where you really start to kind of grow and transform what has happened is when you look at the learnings for yourself. Maybe there are things you stepped over. Maybe you knew subconsciously that you weren't compatible with this person right from the start. Maybe there were some warning signs from years ago that you just stepped over. There'll be something that you can be responsible for that transforms this to a world of I'm just a victim of the circumstance to I can actually locate responsibility inside the circumstance. I can get my power back. I can feel like next time I'm not going to make those same mistakes again. Learning leads automatically to healing, and then you can push through into that space of victor. So the victim to victor cycle is really that critical piece is learning. So if you find yourself in that place where you can't trust again, it means that you are struggling to accept the learning experience from this. Why do we struggle with learning? With two reasons. One, learning resistance. Learning resistance is where we don't really accept what has happened. It's a form of denial. You know, it's not really happening. We can still negotiate. We can get around this. He'll come back. She'll come back. This is when we don't really accept reality. The next type of learning issue is learning defiance. This is where a lot of people get very stuck. So that's where it's not that you're unwilling to accept what has happened. It's that you're unwilling to adjust to what has happened. You resent that it happened in the first place. And you are actually unwilling to change your life or to go through the learning and responsibility steps for you to move forward. Learning defiance actually creates more issues for people long term. And that's why people struggle to trust again, is often they're stuck in that learning defiance zone. If you want to get out of that, it's part of what we cover on the Naked Divorce program. The Emotional Freedom program and everything that I've designed is designed to help people move through victim, survivor, into the learning zone, getting through their learning resistances, their learning defiances, breaking through to the other side, getting to a place of responsibility, ownership, and empowerment in that. You know, responsibility does not need to be a heavy burden where suddenly we're saying this is your fault. It's got nothing to do with fault. It's about being at cause and moving forward in a positive way. So if you want to find out more, book a clarity call with us. Come and find out what the program is about and learn to trust again.